Hi, everyone. I want to thank you all for being here today. I know many of you, all of you, John Blasco here, Deputy Chief of Staff to Congress Member Dan Goldman. And we're very happy and pleased to welcome a really great team here who you are going to be hearing from shortly. I want to thank you for being here and for the folks that are going to trickle in probably late. As a reminder, we are recording this conversation, but we basically want to make sure that NYCHA residents and your neighbors are equipped with all of the tools in the toolbox on how to address mold and leak complaints, especially severe ones that are going on in many of our developments. As you know, in the 10th Congressional District, in Lower Manhattan and in Brooklyn, where the congressman represents 31 NYCHA developments. We handle a lot of constituent casework, often related to mold complaints. And that's why we wanted to bring folks here today, just to hear more about, again, the tools that are in the toolbox. Please feel free to share this information out. As a disclaimer, I said we will record this presentation, but when we get to the question and answer portion, we will turn off the recording just to make sure that it's a safe space for any folks who want to share any stories or ask any questions. So with that being said, I would like to welcome and thank Kirsten for being here, who's going to introduce herself and the team. And I'm going to add a spotlight here for you. And I'm going to take myself off because you are not going to hear from me, everyone. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, John, for allowing us the opportunity to spread word um, regarding the Ombudsperson call center. I'm joined here by the Ombudsperson's team as well. I oversee the Ombudsperson call center, and I'm joined by Shannon McManus, who is an attorney who serves in the Ombudsperson capacity along with Cesar de Castro. So I'll let Shannon say hello.
Hello, everybody. John, thank you for organizing and having us here. And I'll kick it back to Kirsten.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Shannon. I'm going to go over just a really brief presentation with you all about what is the OCC, how can the OCC help you or a neighbor, and talk a little bit about what our process is. So with that, I'm going to share my screen. Bear with me 1 second. Okay, move this around a bit here. Okay. So first, just to get things started, the OCC is an independent resource, as John had mentioned, for both NYCHA residents and PAC residents. We're here to help residents with complaints regarding leaks, mold, or moisture. Our services are available for residents who have issues within their apartments. We have a call center. It is available for residents from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And we have Spanish and English available on staff, and we use translators as needed for any other language. Cesar, the picture you see here in the bottom right-hand corner, he is the court-appointed ombudsperson. And so essentially there's a litigation, NYCHA v. Baez, Baez v. NYCHA, I'm sorry, whereby the court instilled Cesar to be able to oversee NYCHA as it relates to ensuring that residents are getting their mold and leak issues resolved in a timely fashion. And so the complaints come in through the call center, which is me, and Cesar and his team oversee the call center. And if there are issues which cannot be resolved, they come in to help. This is our contact information. There's different ways you can submit a complaint to our office. It's our phone number, 888-341-7152. Our website, ombnyc.com, or you can email us at support@ombnyc.com. We have flyers also, so we always encourage people, to the extent that they've had the opportunity to work with us or you work in the community, this presentation can be shared. Also, if you go on our website, there's links to flyers that you can have or you can distribute to people that just explain a little bit about what we are, how to reach us, and what to do. A few impact statements. We first launched in 2019. So we've been doing this for quite some time. We serve both NYCHA residents and, as I said, PAC residents. We've helped over 30,000 residents so far, and we've worked in almost every single NYCHA and PAC development. At any given time, we're helping at least 500 residents in a given month, and we've overseen repair activity for over 100,000 work orders. The premise of our office and our tool, as John referenced, is really to ensure that there's resident satisfaction in the process. Not here to say that everything always goes smoothly. There are certainly complex situations that have things that are outside of our purview, but the idea of our office is to help residents with mold or leak conditions to ensure that they get addressed, and that the root cause of the problem is identified and they're living in a healthy home. How's the OCC work? So first off, you might ask, what are the common reasons why someone calls to report a mold or leak issue? The first and most important thing is that you have had to already report the issue to NYCHA and you're not satisfied with NYCHA's response. Our office, the OCC, and under the Ombudsperson oversight, doesn't actually do any repair work. We're not here to do that. We are simply an oversight mechanism and a facilitator to ensure that you understand what's going on in your apartment related to the mold or leak issue, and that we have a plan that's been put in place to help get it resolved. And so some of the things that typically go wrong where our office comes in to help are they range from simple to very complex issues. The simplest one, and very commonly, I'm sure many of you may know or appreciate, there's a lot of missed appointments. And so if you have a scheduled appointment for Monday and it's 4:30 and no one showed up for your scheduled appointment, and you called the planner to check in on that, you called the front desk, and no one got back to you, and now you don't have a scheduled date, it was essentially missed, you can call our office and we can help get that back on track for you. Sometimes that's helpful because, as you may know, there's a lot of people that are waiting a really long time. So missed appointments can be very impactful if, the next available appointment isn't to sometime in 2026. Scheduling delays are another one where we often receive complaints. As I just said, sometimes they're scheduling right now that's happening many, many months in advance. And there's a health or safety issue, and that can't wait that long. You can't wait a year to get cabinets or a kitchen sink. That is not reasonable. And so you call our office to help get that work scheduled and get that work expedited. Other times the issues are a little bit more complex. They have to do with either the work not being completed, or not being completed well, right? So that can be a mix of somebody came to resolve a leak. They opened up your wall, they fixed the pipe, but now you're left with a gigantic hole in the wall and it's been 6 months. That work is not complete. That's not a functional bathroom or kitchen for you. And you don't know what the next step is in the process. That's a very common case for us. Other times is they came and they did the work and they closed up that wall, they fixed that leak, but like the plaster is not really put on correctly and they never painted it, and it looks like there might still be moisture behind that. Like they didn't do a good job. If they did do the work, they didn't do a good job. And you need some help to try and really understand what's going on and how to help. Um, the last one is recurrence. Those are typically our most severe cases. Those are situations where you may have reported an issue to NYCHA one or two or three or four times, and the issue just continuously persists. Maybe that's mold in your bathroom. Maybe there's not a functioning window to allow for the condensation to be removed. Or maybe the roof fan isn't working and you're not getting any ventilation through that bathroom. It's causing the mold to come back. Maybe it's the apartment above has a resident who has an illegal or not hooked up correctly washer or dryer or air conditioning unit that persistently is causing a leak in your apartment, and like despite reporting the issue, nothing is happening for you. Um, or you live on a top floor building and the roof needs to be repaired and you're consistently getting a significant amount of mold, and it's not a healthy environment for you. Um, this is an example of a resident from Red Hook East who called us who needed to be immediately relocated due to the severity of the mold in her apartment. These are many of the types of cases in which we are helping NYCHA residents. What's the process like, right? So say one of the things I just said, one of those common issues is a thing that you're faced with. What would that look like if you wanted to report a complaint to us? The first thing is, um, you have to call us, right? We have to get in contact with you. That can either happen through you or through a TA or through someone like John. Um, but essentially, we'll want to spend some time on the phone with you, getting information about your contact information. Where do you live? What's your best phone number? What's the work order associated with, the recent mold or leak issue that you have had? We'll gather all that information. We'll ask you some questions about what's going on, what's happening right now, what's happening, over the last month or so, and then sometimes we'll ask it a little bit more holistically, like what's it been like in your apartment for the last year or 2 years. We are fortunate that we have access to all of NYCHA's mold and leak work order data. I know when a ticket was created. I know when it was closed. I know what if it was closed with work done or not work done. I know the labor worker that was done. I know how many minutes the work order has for that. I can see pictures if the worker took pictures. Um, I can see what the square footage of mold is. I can look at your entire building line and see if there's issues, if other residents are experiencing similar issues as you are. We are tremendously lucky that we also serve as the independent data analyst in this litigation. And so we have access to a decent amount of information that really helps us help you, because we can then analyze that, listen to the issues that you are faced with, and then inform NYCHA and provide guidance on what the next steps are. We will always ask you for pictures and videos. It's incredibly important for us to know what the conditions look like today, as well as when you first reported it. But today is very important for us. And so we also do a process where we call it a virtual inspection. It's essentially you're on your phone in a Zoom room and you're walking around with us and we're taking a look. Sometimes people report issues in the bathroom, but they forget to inform us that on the other side of that bathroom wall is their kitchen or their bedroom. And sometimes there's also extensive damage in those places, which NYCHA may or may not include in its scope of work. And many times we have found that they don't unless asked to or told to. If we can't fix your problem on our first or second call, which honestly is many times, we will assign a case agent for you. At NYCHA, there's a dedicated 30-person unit. It's called the Mold Response Unit. You will get a resident coordinator to help resolve your case. They act as a liaison for you. They're going to make sure that all your work orders are created. They'll help ensure that the inspections are done as needed. They will follow up with you to ensure that you understand what was the cause of your issue in your apartment and what is the repair activities that need to happen and how long is it going to take to do that. They'll work with you on scheduling and timing as well. While all of that is happening, our office is still here, but we're kind of in an oversight role. So NYCHA uses our Zendesk CRM platform to log all their updates and post things. We have full access to all of that. So I see when they called you, I see what they said that they did. I understand what's coming up next. If we don't think that that makes sense, we'll follow up, ask for something, ask to expedite scheduling, things of that nature. Also, we're available, right? So you call us if there's any kind of questions along the process. If you don't feel like you're getting the answer that you want from your RCA, your resident or case liaison, you can just give us a call. We can step in and help clarify things or help get things back on track if you feel as if they aren't. And then essentially we close out our case whenever we think it makes sense. There are some times where once everything is kind of scheduled and we understand what the root cause of the issue is, and you feel like you're in good hands on what needs to happen next, we'll close it. Other times, a resident might be relocated and they might be relocated for months, but we will keep that case open and check in with them periodically as you know, as we all feel is fit. But ultimately, we don't close a case until a resident is satisfied. If there is a dispute where a resident is not satisfied, we typically go through a process where we understand why. We try and do something about those reasons of why, whether that's an independent inspection or additional work that is needed, and something along those lines. If we still can't seek a resolution, that's where Shannon and Cesar step in to help really understand what is going on and work to seek a resolution. Fortunately, not many of our cases get there to that point. NYCHA is pretty responsive to our office. And there is a sense of urgency on a lot of our cases, and so most times we don't need to get to Cesar's team, but it's very important that they are there because essentially they're the oversight mechanism that can adjudicate on behalf of the court if things don't go right. So they can issue an order if they need to demand that NYCHA get something done in a certain period of time, or use a vendor or have an independent inspection done by, you know, a court appointed mold expert, things of that nature. This is just an example of a before and after. There's lots of them that we have. If you go on our website, you can see a lot of pictures. But this one in particular, again, was at Red Hook. The resident was having a lot of recurring leaks in their bathroom coming from the apartment above. And, you know, they said that NYCHA, you know, had previously fixed the leak, but it's been only just a couple of weeks and the issue has returned and deteriorated. So we came in to help monitor the repairs. We really ensured that the work on the floor above was being handled, and so we were involved in overseeing not only work in the residence apartment that you're seeing in this picture, but more importantly, what was happening above, because that's really the impacted unit in terms of where the leak was. And so we were overseeing the work in both two apartments on that, made sure the leak was fixed, make sure it was tested, and then ultimately the, you know, follow up or more cosmetic related repairs, we monitored for that as well. And you know, the resident was really happy with the outcome and just felt like, you know, her apartment finally was looking the way that it should be looking, and she was thankful for our help. This is just like a little bit of some FAQs and what are some of the limitations are that our office has. I wish we could help with everything, but unfortunately we are limited to just mold and leak issues. That doesn't mean we don't oversee cabinet repairs or floor repairs. We do, but that has to stem from a mold or a leak condition. Additionally, we can't, you know, we don't do repairs, right? Like I said, we're a New York centered call center. We monitor the activity. We ourselves do not do any repairs. Um, we um, we can receive information from you all. However, if NYCHA sends us reports or inspection reports or pictures from their end, or they validate something, we don't have the ability to share that back to you as a resident. Any of that information exchange needs to come directly from NYCHA to you. Um, and so that is just one limitation that sometimes people do ask for. Um, one kind of area of limitation is if a resident has filed any type of lawsuit or is in any type of legal situation with NYCHA, it really limits our ability to step in and get involved. We will not change access dates. We will not have independent inspections done, we need to take a back seat to that and let the litigation take its course. We will not provide information or insight. We won't be able to share data and things of that in that realm. We can't expedite scheduling dates, things like that. Another area is reasonable accommodation requests. So if there's an ADA request or say like you have a doctor's note because you have asthma and you get an accommodation to be relocated, we unfortunately don't have the ability to help in like make that relocation go any faster. It's outside of our scope for the provisions of the agreement. Um, and then I guess lastly, we do get referrals from different referral sources. Like a lawyer can refer a case to us. John and his team can refer cases to us. We can share some information back, but the resident needs to provide permission on a recorded line for us to do that. But again, we won't share pictures, right? But we can share periodic updates about what's going on in the case, what the root cause was, and what is happening next. I will pause there. That is our kind of short and sweet presentation. I'll drop the presentation here. Before I hand it over to John, I'll just give it back to Shannon in case there's anything he wants to add or amplify.
I don't think so. One thing is if anybody knows a resident that is having issues and they might be elderly or not good with technology, you can always have somebody else besides that resident call the complaint in, open a ticket with the OCC online, use their phone to do any kind of videos or pictures that we may need. So it's not that we can only talk to the resident. So if they need somebody to help them, that's fine.
Yeah, that's a great point. We've helped residents in unique situations where they are not the head of household. Um, they are not the tenant on record, and we've still been able to help ensure their mold and leak conditions are resolved based on just that person calling us.
That's great. Thank you so much for the presentation. And thank you for those that were sitting here listening. I see quite a few tenant association presidents, so thank you for being here. And as we said, the presentation itself was recorded. For this Q&A part, we're going to take the recording off. But I also wanted to acknowledge that we've been joined by representatives from Assemblymember Grace Lee's office and also Council Member Shahana Hanif's office. So thank you for being here. And I'm just making sure I can see. Got two screens here.